Hello and well met. This is Layron with the Grounds Academy. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Fallout rule set again, and this time the focus is going to be on essentially creating these assets. A lot of us will have game systems out there where we want to make our own tokens and custom things, and publishers can't cover everything, so they're not going to know which type of characters we need and what we need for our game specifically. So I'm going to be building some using the Fantasy Grounds image metadata builder, and I'm also going to be using Canva. So the main focus of this is just working on tokens. I think this is one of the pain points or one of the challenges that you'll come against when you're trying to set up your own campaign, run modules and such. So down here on the bottom right corner is the metadata builder. This is a separate program that Smiteworks released for developers to create the definition files for the tokens and such. I'm going to bring over my screen here, my browser. So what I'm doing is taking these images from this website and creating tokens out of these. I found out yesterday when I was doing a stream to have to remove this base because it clashes with the perspective of the top down or the 3D angle. So I have to change that. So I got to get rid of the base. But essentially I got like three different tokens here that I can create out of those. So I have the powered armor, the Brotherhood of Steel, and then we have Lucy here, and then of course we got good old Hank, I guess, the ghoul. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So the application I'm using is Canva. This is the paid version. I don't remember what the limitations are for the free version, but essentially it's got some limitations to it. I think I'll temporarily hide the metadata builder for now. So go ahead and turn that off, just so we doesn't block the screen. Let's see if I got this correct. Yeah, so I want to hide that for now. And then what I want to do is kind of show the process that I'm going through here. So I've already done this one here, and this particular app has a built-in app tool. I think this program's about 130 a year, US dollars. It's definitely worth it. And they're getting better with their editing tools. Like, it's not a full-fledged Photoshop program, but it does quite a bit of stuff. So I'm gonna work on Lucy here. So I'm going to first expand this out a little bit. And these are just models for the toys, so you can order these. I think they're like 60 bucks each. They're pretty good size too. So I figured I'd just use these for tokens. I mean, they're already kind of cool looking. So I don't like the way her token turned out, but the ghoul looks really good, and this powered armor looks pretty good. But I don't like the way her physical rendition rendition looks. It doesn't look very good, but that's just my opinion. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and I think this one is going to be the worst or the hardest to work on because of all this stuff in here. So what I want to do is go to this edit photo up here, and there's an automatic background remover, so that'll get rid of a majority of the content. And then all I have to do is take the tool and remove it from there. So I take the brush size and kind of increase it for right now, and then just kind of come over and get rid of the bulk of it. So I'm just going to come through and just knock all this out and kind of just get a majority of it. I don't have to get every single bit because it's quite a big area, so I wanted to just get most of it out. We don't need to get every little bit right now. And now I'm going to reduce the brush size so it's not so huge. And then I'm going to zoom in and you just kind of trace around the edge so that I can get this. So just kind of come around the edge here and just kind of trace the contour of his foot here. And this will just kind of make it easier later when I go to remove the rest of this. So this is just going to get the outline removed. And that's all I'm trying to do here is just come through and remove. So this is just kind of an extra step that you might do or you may not, depends on how much time you have. But this is something that you'll come across at one point or another, regardless of the rule set. They do have some character tokens in Fantasy Grounds, so if you're new to Fantasy Grounds, you've never used it before, or even if you've been away for a while, they did make some character tokens, but they can't they can't cover every genre and every character type. So you're going to eventually probably have to make your own. And for right now, you got to use the metadata tool to achieve that. You don't have to, but it helps scale the token so it looks better in the game. Otherwise, it's going to look it'll look distorted sometimes depending on the perspective that you're using for the token, and then what the quality of the image and all that good stuff. So I figured these figurine tokens are pretty close. They look like tokens, so I figured, man, might as well use those. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. I was going to try to kind of make my own with the AI program, but I said, you know what? I just want to use what's already out there. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's kind of what the premise was for some of this work here. I don't want to do this for everything, but just for the sake of kind of helping the community out, give them an idea of what they're up against. Because I know when you get this stuff, you're like, oh, cool, they have all this stuff, but then you don't realize what it really takes to get it. And I think that's where people get discouraged, because it is a lot of work. And I like to be more honest and upfront about it. It's like, look, this is how it is. It's the reality here. Oops, I just messed that up. That sucked. So when you do that, you can hit the restore button. I was doing the Control Z, and that was resetting the whole thing. I didn't want that. So I lost a lot of work earlier before I knew how to use the tool. That really sucked. So I learned the hard way. All right, so what do we got here? So this is an area that I want to remove, but I'm going to add some back in so I can kind of see what I'm doing. Now switch back to the removal tool and see if I can get some of that out. There we go. So what you do is you come in as close as you can, and then you can come back in and restore it if you went too far. So if you have to get into a tight area, you get the area that's really tight, and then of course you come back and you fix or erase the stuff, or you replace it depending on what you're doing. But there we go. So let me see. I'm going to zoom back out and see if there's anywhere else I need to grab. Well, it looks pretty good. It looks decent. Oh, there's one area in here, this little pocket in here. So this is what I was saying. You could come in here and remove some of this, but then you might get a little overzealous. So you can come back through and kind of put that back in there if you want. And I don't think I needed to do that, but it can be challenging at times. There we go. And there is one little tiny dot there, but see, I'm not going to worry about that, because that's not even worth the stress. Okay, so anyways, we got this thing kind of hammered out, so we'll go ahead and hit this back, going back to this area, and then we're going to resize it because we want it to fit a majority of that square. It doesn't have to go all the way top to bottom, but you might as well use that space, and this is the maximum area that they recommend for creating these full body images. So this is 1,000 by 1,000. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to shrink it just a tiny bit and then center it. There we go. So that's all I'm doing here, is taking these things and creating tokens with it. And they look pretty good. I mean, I like the except for this one. I don't know if I'm going to like this one, but anyways, I'll do it. So again, I'm going up here to edit the photo. You have this background remover tool, which gives you the ability to come in and touch things up, remove stuff. So it took out most of that. So it looks like all I have to do is come in and take the base out. So again, I'm going to change the brush size again and just take out a majority of this. I don't think I want to preserve that rad roach, so I'll get rid of that too. And all I'm doing is just getting rid of a bulk, like the bulk of this unwanted background stuff. And then that way, when I get ready to edit even finer, a lot of that's gone. All right, so now all I'm going to do is, I'm not trying to erase all this stuff. I just want to get close enough to the edge so that I can come back and remove that other stuff safely. So that's all I'm doing, is just left click and drag and just very slowly following the contour of this boot. I like her boots. Nice work boots. And then down here, same thing. And what's nice is you don't have to be exactly perfect. I mean, you can come back and touch it up. Let's see, I'm just kind of going through and just lightly coming through. This takes a little patience and a little practice. Like, some of us don't have the dexterity in our hands anymore to do this kind of work. So I went a little far there on accident because I let go of the mouse at a weird time. So I'll go back and I'll fix that. But for right now, I'm just going to get a majority of this stuff out of here. And I can go back and fix it later. But this is just part of the par for the course here for this type of editing. It can be really annoying. So just warning you. All right, so this is the majority of that. So I'll increase the brush size a little bit more, and I'll take out this center. I go back to removing. And notice there's a couple spots in here I want to get rid of. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go back and fix where I went too far. So this one can go back, this can go back, and then up here. There we go. Everything else looks pretty good, so that wasn't too bad. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. The thing that's really hard to do is hair. If you've ever tried to remove the background, you got someone who's got frizzy hair and it's dispersed amongst, like a solid background or even a background that has a similar color to the hair, that is almost impossible to deal with. You have to go in and meticulously remove all of that stuff, and that's, in most cases, not worth it. But in this case, the hair is kind of a solid one-piece thing here, so I don't have to worry about that. But when you're doing, images that you just grab off the internet and you start doing it and you realize, shit, this is too much work here. Yeah, you'll feel it eventually. It sucks. I'll tell you that right now. There's some images that just aren't meant to be. Okay, I just went, what the hell did I do here? So I want to restore that and go back to the smaller size. Yeah, I need to get out of this because I'm starting to break stuff now. Like a bull in a china closet here. So let me. Okay, so I think we're good. I don't want to get too crazy in here because you get too much, you get too overthink it essentially, and then it just becomes a big mess. All right, so I had to get myself out of there because I was about to wreck everything. And that's something that you'll suffer from occasionally too. You just get too hyper focused on it, and then you mess things up. So you don't have to be that perfect. I mean, these aren't going on the store or anything. These are for my personal use, by the way. So I'm not selling these or anything. So, calm down a little bit. You don't have to be perfect. All right, so fix this a little bit. So the idea here is to fill up that space, but without going over the edge and leaving a little bit of margin here for error and such. And when we've removed all that background, we can render these as individual images. So I just put powered armor suit Lucy and the ghoul. I didn't really put anything specific. And then the project's Fallout series characters. So that way I can recall it and it's easier. So on the export options for share, I'm going to go to download, and I want to make sure I pick transparent background. That's an important thing. You could use a 1000 by 800, so 1000 tall by 800 wide. You could do that for, individual characters. But since these have parts that are kind of sticking out, I'm just going to keep it square. But it does save a little bit of room if you're, fighting for hard drive space, or you want to make your file size a lot smaller. You can do that if you need to. In this case, I don't think it's necessary. It's just me. All right, so what I want to do is, I wanted to look at this for a sec. Did this get taken out? You know what? I'm not going to worry about it. This is what I'm saying. You can start overthinking it, and then it's just going to make more work. It's not worth it. So I go to download, and this will download all three of these images, and then I will go into the folder and see how they turned out. Okay, so it actually downloaded as a zip file because there's 3 of them. And quite often, I always forget I don't know where these things go half the time. So I have to keep my eye on that, because I'll be in the middle of a thing and I'll save it, and then I go, oh shit, where'd it go? Most of the time it goes in my downloads folder, but I don't know how it happens. But once in a while, if I download like a video, a document, or sometimes a compressed file, but it'll go into the default folder, so I don't want that. I want to put it all in my download folder on a separate drive, a storage drive. Because that's, trying to keep my main hard drive clean. And then, all this other crap I put on another drive, so I'm not using up my space just for this kind of stuff. All right, so I'm waiting for my machine to re-index the content that I'm working in. So sometimes when you get a lot of crap like I have right here, it can be hard on your system. And that's kind of what happens with Fantasy Grounds when you have a gazillion things in your images folders and your maps and such. Every time it has to go through and look at stuff, it really takes a while to index. So that's why you got to be kind of judicious at what you put in your folders, because you might have like 20,000 assets that you're not going to use. And that's the stuff that eventually it just starts accumulating over time. It's really not anything you're doing intentionally. It's just something you got to keep in mind. It's a lot of maintenance on the back end to keep things going well. Or if you don't, after a while, it gets to the point where the app becomes cumbersome, and every time you do something, it just takes forever, like this is. This should not be taking this long, but let me see if I can find it. So let me try Fallout. It's a zip file that I'm looking for. There we go. So I knew it was there. I just didn't know where it went. There we go. Okay, so extract to, okay, yep, Fallout series characters. Okay. And this is kind of the tedious part here is, file maintenance or computer and file management. That's where a lot of us get lazy. And I'll tell you what, that's what really messes up your feng shui here. So here are the tokens. So I think they turned out okay. Let me, I'll bring over that preview window so you can see that. So, so this is just a, preliminary part. That was just the main part of the work, right? That's like the work, the effort. And then the next step is a little work too, because if you look on the screen, let's actually move this over now. And then I'm going to bring over, actually shut all this down. Don't need this anymore. But I'm going to be using token stamp too later. But I'm going to shut that down. So on the screen here, I got the Fantasy Grounds image metadata builder. There's a video that goes with this. There's a Mac and a PC version. This is the tool that the developers, Doug and all of them, are using to input the file definitions for each one of the tokens. So it is a lot of work. I mean, if you're only going to do a few tokens, not a big deal. But when you start getting into a complete monster manual or something like that, that's a lot of work. So anyhow, what I'm going to do is take those tokens that I made earlier and drag those into the application. So we'll start with Lucy first. And this is basically, we're going to define the region. So we want to do the set measurement region is what we're going to do here. And this is the top left corner, basically. So we're going to click that. So we're going to set, like the X and Y. So top left corner here, top or bottom right corner, we're going to say here. Something like that. Okay, and then expected height is going to be 1. I don't really know how tall she is. She's probably 5'6" or something like that. So in height, we'll put 5'6". This is in feet, by the way. I don't know if it's going to take the inches, but let me see. It says width in feet or blank. So we're going to put, I don't remember if it's 5.5 or something, or if it was so we'll just say 5.5. So 1 square essentially is the height in blocks, for that. And then we need to set the center floor, X and Y. So that's going to define the center point. So I think when I watched the video from Doug's, he said to place it right in between their 2 feet here, roughly about halfway through. So I'm going to hit the center point and then click, because this is kind of off. It's not perfectly straight. So I'm going to do that. And that's kind of like the pivot point where the camera is going to rotate it essentially. And then I'm going to hit save XML. So that saves an XML definition file with the image itself. So every time you do that in your images folder, that's going to save this definition file. And what this is just telling Fantasy Grounds how to rotate and present the image in Fantasy Grounds so it looks, looks correct with the camera view. So that's what that's for. You don't have to do this, but this extra step will help make the tokens stand out a little bit better. And depending on the shape, like you might get lucky and not have to do it at all. But I think by doing this, you're going to help yourself, especially if it's an odd shape or like if it's like horizontal. You definitely want to use this tool. But anyways, so I'm going to go to the next one and do the same thing. So just all you have to do is drag another token in there. So I'll do the power suit. Let's see. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is probably taller. So we're probably going to go with 2 on the expected grid height. And we're going to set the measurements here. So on the top right corner, probably go up in here. And the bottom, or top left corner, bottom right corner, we're going to come down in here. And then we're going to set the center floor after we do the height. So I think these things are about 8 feet tall. I don't remember, but it's pretty tall. I mean, it wasn't short. And then we'll set the center. So that'll be like right between these two legs here in the center as best we can. And then we're going to go ahead and hit Save XML. So that's just the process of doing this. And now we'll do the ghoul again. I did this yesterday, but yesterday I had the base on it and it totally threw it off. It was stupid. So I had to come back and redo it anyway. So I figured, I'm going to be working on this. I might as well share it, see what people, see if anyone cares enough to do it. So 1 for the expected grid height. I'm going to make him 6 foot, essentially. Oops, not 5 feet, 6 feet. Let's see. So set the measurement areas. So we're going to come up here, the top left, and then down here, the bottom right. And then we're going to set the center floor. So come down right about in here, and then save the XML. So all you're doing is defining the X, Y, and the Z axis, and then you're just kind of defining the measurements of the image. That's all we're doing. So once you're done with that, you take all the images that you've created, including these XML files. Now you don't want to change the file names. For some reason, if you have to, you need to make sure they match, because it won't load. You won't be able to tell either until you play with the token. So I'm going to go ahead and take all these files and hit copy, and then go into Fantasy Grounds. You want to go to your assets folder. Make sure you're in images, not tokens. And I have a campaign folder already, so I'll click on that, and here it says 3D characters. So I already have one called the ghoul in here. I'm going to actually remove that one because this is the one I was telling you yesterday didn't work out because it had a base, and that base sucked. So it didn't look right. So hit Control V, and that should technically move those. Where did that go? Maybe I lost it. So like that. Actually, I'll cut those out. I don't want to keep them there. I don't want duplicates. Why is that not doing anything? Let's try it again. Okay, so cut. Is it even? I think it's already highlighted. Okay, there's the cut, and paste. There we go. Okay, now once you have that in the folder, whenever you make changes in Fantasy Grounds, it still shows the old ghoul there, even though I got rid of it. So you have to hit this refresh. Once you do that, they'll show up here. You won't see the XML files because those are data files. So now that you have that, now what you do is you just kind of use to test them out. You can just grab a blank PC and kind of see what it looks like. So I'm going to kind of minimize this for right now. And this is the ghoul I made yesterday. So I already have kind of a test subject. So I'm going to switch this out with this new token and do the same down here. And then what you want to do is, if it's already on the combat tracker, best practice, I don't think you have to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and delete. Actually, do I want to do that? Yeah, I'll just delete them off there, and then I'll start over. I'll just grab the same character again, drag it on here, and then he doesn't have a name. That might be problematic for Fantasy Grounds. So let me bring up that character sheet. This is the ghoul. So yesterday when I was doing this, it just looked horrible in the 3D mode. So that's why I redid that one. And well, the reason for it is this map already kind of has a perspective to it. Like it has a certain angle already. If it was completely flat, it may not have made a difference, but by having that base and it was going a certain direction, it clashed. It just didn't work. All right, so let me drag this guy onto the, or he's already on the combat tracker, but let's put him on the map. Okay, so this is the flat token. So I already made that and using the, what do you call it, the 3D or the POG thing, the roll advantage token stamp. All right, so let's switch modes here. So we're going to go to camera mode. And what you'll see on a lot of these initially is when you're up close like that, it kind of messes with the perspective. So when they're down here, it's because the camera is trying to stay centered on it. So as you move further away, it looks a lot better. So it's just a perspective thing. Like some people have reported that it's broken, but the camera can only react to the token. I mean, there's some limitations to it, but that looks pretty decent. I mean, that's not bad. So this is kind of what you're trying to achieve when you're putting these things together. Let me grab just a fake or just a blank character, and I'm going to throw that powered armor. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this add item. I'm not going to build that character yet, but I want to use the powered armor suit. See what that looks like. So I'm going to bring my assets back up. Okay, so we'll use that just to see what it looks like. And then I will drag this. We'll just give him a name here. So what is his name? Okay, so we'll just call him Brotherhood. Brotherhood of Steel. All right, let's put him on the combat tracker. He's already on there. Okay, so let's drag him on there, see what this looks like. Yeah, so this looks even stranger. I don't know why it was crunched, but perhaps I didn't do it right, but that's about what it should look like. I'll have to play around with that, but I think it's the expected number of squares. I think I messed that up, but this is not bad. It looks pretty decent in this map. So this map is one of the map packs from the vault. So that looks pretty good. Now we might as well just do Lucy while we're at it. So Loosey Goosey. So we'll put that on there. We'll call it Lucy, just for the hell of it. She's a vault dweller. And we'll put that up here and bring up those assets again. So I'm dragging that to the token camera and to the portrait. So to do that, close that, drag her onto the combat tracker, and then drag her onto the map. Yeah, I don't know. I think as you get closer to these things, they look weird, but when they're in the distance like that, they look pretty good. So I want to see how she looks compared to other guys. Yeah, it looks about right. It's pretty close. This guy could probably be a little bigger. There we go. So there's a scaling. Let's move her over a little. Yeah, it looks okay. So it kind of, when you have one selected, that changes the camera mode. So it does look a little off, but for the most part, looks pretty good. So I'll use the arrow keys to kind of move these guys around. Yeah, it kind of looks like a token or a POG or, or a 3D token kind of. All right, so that's all I got today. I didn't want to bore you guys too much, but this is an important aspect of customizing your experience for your table, for your players. And regardless of the rule set, you're going to have to go through this if you want to have decent character tokens. Like they might provide, meaning Smiteworks and the publisher, might provide us with some decent NPCs, but when it comes to making custom characters, you're going to have to add your own. And that's why I did this stream, so you guys can kind of get an idea what that looks like. And the work. To be honest with you, it's a lot of work. So if you're going to do 6 of these, I mean, it's not too bad, but anything more than that, like if you got a whole bunch of NPCs to do and stuff, that's a lot of work. And if you're going to use, what is that? AI to create your full body tokens, Make sure you tell it to give you a blank or a white background, because it's hard to remove that the background if it's all different colors. So you want to try to find an image that has a solid background. It's a lot easier to work with. I've tried it. I've done a few, and what I found is that one, the scale is difficult to maintain, and then also that background color, it really needs to be either black or white or beige or something that kind of clashes or stands out against the character, because that gets really difficult to remove that out if you don't already have a good program like Adobe or something like that. So there's a lot of free tools that'll help you remove the background, but it's not always going to be accurate. Like, different programs have different amounts of accuracy, and the algorithm they use for detecting the colors and the differences in shades of digital bytes and stuff is different. So you're gonna have to get used to that. But nonetheless, that is basically what I was trying to do, is kind of show how this works. And this Mr. Handy was actually this is what Doug or Smiteworks did. So it looks pretty good. I like it. That looks a lot cleaner than mine. I don't know why. Mine don't look as clean, but pretty close. All right, guys. So you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys around. Bye-bye.